Hi, and welcome to the SaVeg podcast. I'm Rose, and I'm a content creator going by the handle Cheap Lazy Vegan, and I also own a vegan cafe by the same name as the podcast, which is SaVeg Cafe.
And I'm Daniel, also a vegan, and one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends currently living in different countries, and we'll be giving our savage take on all things life, veganism, and the latest trending topics.
So basically, whatever comes to our minds, because we love to talk.
You are currently listening to the previous episode of this podcast, but if you would like to listen to this week's episode and get some exclusive content, go over to patreon.com/thesavagepodcast.
Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of the SaVeg podcast. I can't believe we're already on episode 3. It's crazy.
I know. I know. We're actually doing this like full on.
Kind of, yeah. So today's episode is kind of focused on a topic that me and Rose both find very, very interesting, which is around kind of masculinity and how it's kind of changing in today's society, as well as, if we have time, because that in itself is such a huge topic, but also around sexuality and the kind of I don't know how to say it. You know, like in today's
gender
society,
roles, like gender, sexuality, that topic. Yeah. It's a hot topic at the moment. I love how you just went straight into it. We're going straight into the topic. No warming up, no like, okay, how's your week?
Well, no, I was going to introduce the topic and then be like, before we do that, we're going to talk about ourselves.
Yes. I know you were doing that, but it just sounded so serious from the very beginning. And like, I'm not used to such seriousness. Like, and it's like 7 in the morning over here.
That's true.
It's 7 in the morning over here. And like, already you're just like, we're just going to dive into masculinity and what it means.
Oh God damn, it'd be crazy as all hell.
God damn. Anyways, okay. Before we get into the very serious topic of today's discussion, which by the way, we're not like it's going to be serious, but not like that serious. I'm sure
it's kind of like our experience and our take on it and what we think kind of like from things that we've seen and yeah.
As usual, as always. But yeah, it'll be a fun episode. We always like discussing this kind of stuff. So I think it'll be a fun episode. But either way, we're going to get started by talking about our, what's going on in our lives, the life update time. Do you want
to start us off, Rose?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. In the world of Cheap Lazy Vegan.
In the world of cheap, yeah, exactly. I was about to say that. No, but I was going to say, like, because if you think about it, it's like been 2 weeks since we recorded our last podcast, which is crazy.
I know. This is what I'm saying. Okay, so I was talking to my roommate yesterday, and she listened to our first podcast, by the way. And she was like,
oh, yes.
I was like, yeah, we're doing, she's like, when's the next one coming out? And I was like, we're doing one every 2 weeks. And she's like, that's not enough. So...
Oh God!
I got a little bit of a lecture saying that every 2 weeks is not enough, Dan. But anyway, we're gonna do an extra one for the Patreon people.
Yeah.
Anyways, 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks. I don't even know what happened in the last 2 weeks. My parents went to Korea, so I've been watching little Nari, which is my little puppy. I've been watching her a lot more. My brother and I are taking turns kind of like watching her. So I'm at the parents' house, half the week. So it's been crazy.
Is Nari still as crazy as ever?
Oh gosh, she's insane. She has so much energy. She's getting better at like certain things. Like I think she's definitely gotten better since she was like a really little puppy, because she used to be like really bitey. Like she would bite a lot. And she would like eat everything on the floor. Like she would just pick up everything. Anytime we would walk, she would just like eat everything. So she's gotten a bit better with that. She's enjoying the snow. It's been snowing, Dan.
I know. I saw your Instagram stories. I was like, I can't believe how much snow there is in Calgary.
I know, but it's so nice. And the first snowfall is like really nice when it's not like yet -30.
Exactly. Well, this is the misconception I think people have of Calgary and Canada, because they're always like, oh, it's so cold there and stuff. And yes, it is cold in the winter, but there's periods of the winter where it's like freshly snowed and it's like a little bit cold, but it's not freezing. So you can still like go out there and enjoy it. And I do miss that.
Yeah, that's what we have right now. So it's like, it's actually quite nice, like walking, and she like likes running in the snow. So it's so cute. She's crazy. So yeah, but she has this thing now where if we leave her alone in the house, she likes to destroy everything. So,
oh God.
So I'm trying to figure out, and she's so smart that I think that's why she gets bored. So she'll get bored of her toys. Yeah. She has like a million toys. Like the amount of money I spent on this dog. Because I buy her all these toys and then she gets bored. So I buy her new toys.
Yeah. So Nari's kind of like a little child, like, isn't she?
She is like a little child. She grows out of these toys really fast. Not that she grows out of it, but she'll get bored. She wants a new toy. Yeah. So I think that's why when we leave, she plays with other stuff because she's bored of her toys. Anyways, I could talk about her all day, but so yeah, I've been watching her a lot. I went to some like YouTube event, which I think I told you about. Did I tell you about that?
Yeah.
Did we talk about that last time?
No, I don't think we talked about it because you didn't really go into full detail as to exactly what it was.
I don't know. Oh, so yeah, I went to some YouTube event that was held here in Calgary, which was a shock because like nothing happens in Calgary, especially like with YouTube and stuff. Usually in Canada, it's like in Toronto or Vancouver. And anyways, I got invited to some creator event. It was pretty cool. It was kind of like going through how to be like, I think it was called like unlock your creativity or something like that. And at first I was like, oh my God, is this like a event for, is it like a workshop for like a channel that's dying or something? Because like,
oh God damn, Rose.
They showed me this like one of the first things they did in the presentation was they showed us this like you know like a bell curve, like a stats bell curve. They showed us that and they were like, what do you think that is? And I was just thinking, oh, it's like a statistics curve or whatever. Yeah. And they're like it's a product life cycle. So saying eventually all products die. But no, it was helpful because they weren't saying that like our channels were dying. There was some big YouTube channels there.
Yeah, I remember you saying, and I was actually quite shocked. I was like, I didn't know there was like big other than you. Like obviously, like your channel's really big, but like I didn't know there was other big YouTube channels in Calgary.
I know it was surprising. There were some people from Edmonton and some people from smaller towns, but But yeah, no, it was good. They were just kind of giving ideas on like, and it's true that like, as much as I don't want to think this, but it is true that everything has, you know,
a life cycle.
Everything does. Yeah. And like, you're not going to last forever on YouTube. And like, the faster you realize that because people get cocky, right? So as soon as you get like to a certain point on YouTube, you know, a lot of people have, you know, their ups. And then like when you get your downs, like it feels bad, you know? Yeah. Views are not going to be as good as, you know, they used to be. Like, yeah. And that's just the reality, you know? Even for me, like when I first started, even just putting out a what I ate in a day video would get like 200,000 views randomly with like no subscribers. Yeah. And now it's like, even with so many subscribers, because there's so many people watching YouTube, it's harder and harder to get more and more views. But that's how you become more creative and you start thinking of different ways to, you know, to be a YouTuber or to content create like this, for example.
Exactly. Well, that's part of the reason, you know, it's branching out. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So you enjoyed the YouTube event in Calgary, and then what else happened? Anything else in the last week?
What else happened? Again, it's a blur. What have I been doing? I've been working. Jeez. Lots of Christmas stuff, I guess. There's some Christmas parties. Just stuff like that. Oh my gosh. Oh, cool. Anything else? I've been working just a lot and, you know, the usual. The usual fucking shit, working a lot.
You are a workaholic.
I am. Yeah. I won't deny it, but I enjoy it. I think that's why. When I don't enjoy it, I'm not a workaholic. I mean, is that obvious? Exactly. But some people, I feel like some people are workaholics and they still don't enjoy the work. And that's kind of sad.
Exactly. Well,
maybe they feel like they need to provide and I don't know, make money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that. Like if you have like dependents and stuff, you have to provide for them. Yes. But like it is hard if you're like in a job or something that you're just not passionate about to like work hard and, you know, anyway, I digress. I'm going off on a tangent.
Okay. You tell me about your 2 weeks.
Oh God. My 2 weeks have been horrendous.
Hell on earth.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some like fun stuff that's gone on, but like ultimately like, so this past weekend, one of my friends from Newcastle, Jess, came to visit me in Mercia, which was really, really fun. But at the same time, I ended up, right before she got here, I ended up getting super, super sick with this like horrendous cough. And I was just like, oh, this is great. And the
illness of your life.
Oh God. And honestly, like this is the sickest I've been in like a very long time. Like I can't remember the last time I've been this sick.
Yeah.
And because normally when I get sick, I'm sick for like a day or two and then I'm fine, you know, like it's like a quick illness or whatever. So anyway, I had that. And then it didn't help that like, obviously when Jess was here, like I wanted to show her around and everything, even though I was like dying. So I was like pushing myself to like stay out and do all these things, which I still had a really great time, but then I wasn't getting enough sleep. So my body wasn't recovering. And then, so then this week my sickness has, and I'm going to divulge a little bit too much information here, but my sickness has divulged into something which is absolutely disgusting. And basically, because I was like,
which end? The top end or the bottom end?
The top end, Rose. But let me just tell you what's happened, because I've never had this before in my life.
Oh God, is this the mucus story?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was okay, guys. That was disgusting though too.
If you have weak stomach, maybe like just kind of la your way through this. I don't know what Daniel's about to say, by the way, but okay, go.
Brace yourselves.
Oh God.
So I've been coughing so much that my throat got really, really sore, right? And I was thinking, oh my God, I just have this really sore throat. And then the cough stopped, but my sore throat stayed, but it was only on one side. It's like one side of my throat's really painful. And like every time I swallow, it hurts. And I was like, hey, this is not good. And like, I was like brushing my teeth the other day and I like opened my mouth and I was like, what the fuck is going on in my mouth? I looked at the back and it's so swollen and I have an ulcer at the back of my throat. Yeah. So I was like, I started freaking out. And I was like, hey, what the hell? Why do I have like an ulcer at the back of my throat?
Yeah.
And then I Googled it and stuff. And it's like, they normally go away after like 5 days or something, 5 to 7 days. But in the meantime, it's just like super painful. And they suggest like, you just rinse with like warm salt water and stuff and just like keep your mouth like really like keep doing that like all the time. But it's so painful. And like every time I swallow, it like hurts so freaking much.
You still have this?
Yeah, and it's still there. It's gotten a little bit better.
Oh God.
I know.
This podcast is not going to help. You're going to be talking for the next like hour.
I know. Well, and then we're doing another one for the patrons as well.
We're doing 2 today. So I don't know how you're going to do this.
Well, that's why I have my vitamin water and I have a hot beverage next to me just to kind of get me through this. But honestly,
Daniel.
like I've never, and the thing that it's like, I don't know about you, but like when I get sick, I just get pissed off because I'm like, I don't want to, I'm sure everyone's like this, but I just don't want to be sick. Like I hate just like laying in bed doing nothing, you know?
Yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. And you can't sleep properly because like your throat hurts.
It's just horrible.
It's similar to, Daniel and I were talking, it's similar to whatever I had when I was traveling back to London this year. And Daniel was like, what is wrong with you? I was like coughing like a mad woman.
I had the exact same thing, literally.
Yeah. Well, that sucks. Well, I'm glad you're feeling a bit better. You do sound better than last time. Because last time when we had a podcast meeting last week and Daniel was like coughing so much. I felt so bad. Yeah.
Yeah. It was bad. I mean, it's definitely like the cough is pretty much gone. It's just this throat ulcer that I have now.
It's cutting off again.
Which is... oh God, it's so annoying. Why does it keep doing that?
Okay. All right, we're having some connection issues, but anyways.
Yeah, some technical difficulties. I can just cut those parts out though. And then also, so as part of my friend Jess being here, we went to like on a few trips and stuff around the area. And we went to Cartagena, which I've been to before, which is like a coastal city, which is really nice. And then also in Murcia, they have this like in the center of the city, there's like this massive like traffic circle. And in the middle, they've created this like huge Christmas tree with like lights and everything. It looks, and it's not actually a Christmas tree. It's just like made of lights. And there was a huge ceremony of them like lighting it up and like there was music and it was amazing.
I feel like that's like a Spanish thing because I feel like I've seen something similar in like Madrid or something. They love doing that thing where they have like a big Christmas tree in like a square and then like people just gather and like it's so cute.
Oh my God, I have the funniest story to tell you as well. Oh my God.
I'm excited. Okay, what happened?
I don't know if I should say this because this person probably won't even watch the podcast.
Yes, you should definitely say it. Okay, yes.
So basically,
who is this person?
Oh God, just brace yourself for this, okay, right? So me, Jess, and I'm one of the people I've met here, Sarisha, we went for a night out. And we went to one of the local gay bars here because they're like, oh, let's just go to this gay bar, whatever. So we're like there, like drinking or whatever. And my friend Sarisha looks over and she's like, oh, Daniel, that guy's like really hot and he keeps looking over here, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, make eye contact with him, like kept like pushing me. So finally I was like, okay, I will, right? So I looked over and I'm not kidding you. So I look over. I look back, not even like a minute had passed. He like ran over to come talk to me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did you, wait, how many seconds did you look at him?
I don't know, maybe like 3.
Okay, 3-second rule, yes.
2, 3, and then I was like, looked away. I can't remember, to be honest. I was a little bit drunk. And
Okay.
he came running over, and I was like, oh my God, because he was quite good looking.
Yeah.
And then it was like something out of a movie. He opened his mouth, and he sounded like, do you know that bird from Aladdin, Iago? He sounded like...
No!
Yeah. It was all like literally my friend Sarisha like looked over. She couldn't even stand up straight. She was laughing so hard. Like literally. Yeah.
Wait, can you do the voice? Like remind me of the voice.
He was like, hi, how are you? I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God. I'm like, my heart is breaking.
I know. I was like, this is so sad. I gave him my Instagram anyway. I was like, oh, whatever. So I gave him my Instagram and
now he's going to listen to this.
What's that?
Now he's going to listen to this.
I know. Oh God. Oh my God. I didn't even think about that.
No, it's okay. He's not going to listen to it.
Yeah, he probably won't. And then he sent me a message on my Instagram and was like, oh, which was really sweet actually. He was like, oh, really nice meeting you. And I was like, thanks. Hope you had a good night. And he was like, oh, the best part of the night was meeting you.
Oh God. Okay, you cut off again. Can you say that first part again?
Yeah. So he basically
when he messaged you on Instagram.
Yeah. So he messaged me on Instagram and was like, you know, I hope you had a good night. And then I was like, yeah, I hope you had a good night too. And then he was like, oh, the best part of the night was meeting you.
Oh God.
I'm going to be breaking some hearts.
Like, oh my, you're going to be breaking his heart so bad. Does he speak English?
Yeah,
like,
he's really good at English.
Oh no. Okay. By the way, if you are listening, gentlemen with a bird voice, I am sorry.
I do apologize. Okay, it's not your fault.
At least, you know... Oh my God, are we the worst? This, by the way, guys, if you're enjoying this moment right here, our Patreon only episode is going to be us talking about our worst date stories or just funny date stories in general. So,
oh God, yeah, it's
going to be
so
great
good. And we have
some fucking great stories. So that is a little bit of a a little bit of a teaser to what you will get in the Patreon only episode. Ooh. Just putting that out there. Yeah. Anyways, oh my God, I feel so bad for him because
I know I felt really bad too.
I don't know what's worse, like that or like I you know what? I can't say it.
Oh God, Rose. I don't know where you were going with that one, but yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Do you know what I'm about to say? Do you know what I was going to say?
Maybe I can kind of.
Let's move on. Okay.
So yeah, that pretty much sums up my kind of last couple weeks.
You're like a hot commodity over there in Murcia, aren't you?
Apparently, I think it's the English accent, the Canadian accent. They're all like, ooh,
No, it's a tall, handsome boy with the Canadian accent.
Oh, you're so sweet to me sometimes.
Dang. Only sometimes. Only when it's being recorded.
Yeah, this is true. Off camera, guys, honestly, the abuse I get.
The abuse is real.
I should screenshot some of the text messages,
This is how it should be reeled in,
No.
It's the pushback, the push and pull. So anything else happened in your week or 2 weeks?
Let me see. Other than being
maybe you're sick because you're going out to the gay bar, talking to some random Spanish boys. I said, maybe you're sick because you're going out to the gay bar talking to Spanish boys.
No, I was sick way before that. Okay, Rose, this is my first.
That's why you're not getting better.
Yeah, no, true. Mm-hmm. Like that. Cause when my friend was here, we did go out a few nights, like, even though I was like dying, and it definitely did not make anything any better. But me, like I have, you're like me as well though, when we're like,
I know.
Like, do you remember when we were in Malta? We almost went to that wine fest because you were like, even though you were dying, you were like,
I was literally dying.
But you were tempted.
I was like, let's go. I was so tempted. And like, I was looking at all of the vlogs from like my London trip and our Malta trip. Yeah. And like, when you watch it, I don't seem that sick. Like I seem a bit sick. But then I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, I was like so sick. How did I do all this shit? We were like doing like full on like touristy days and like all kinds of stuff. And I was like, how did I even do this? Because I was so fucking sick.
Yeah, this is what I did when my friend was here for those, like, she was here for like 4 days. And that's probably why I haven't recovered, because I've been like, go. And like,
we like to push our bodily limits.
Oh God. And I'm paying for it now, but I'm better now. So, I'm getting to a good place. and just hope this ulcer goes away.
And now you're pushing it even more because you're going to be talking on the podcast for the next hour.
Oh, God damn. I'm going to have no voice.
And then another hour. You're going to have no voice.
That's so true.
How are you going to teach those Spanish kids, huh? How are you going to teach them English? Okay.
I asked myself how I teach them in the beginning anyway, because my English is so bad. So let's be honest here.
Seriously. Oh, God. I'm like, Daniel, you're teaching English?
I know. English is not my strongest subject. I'm better at like math and stuff.
That's so funny. You know, it's funny because English is my second language, and I can definitely say that I am better at English than you are, Dan.
Oh, 100%. You could run circles with me. So yeah, so that's the life updates, catch ups.
Okay, that was fun. So anyways, we're going to talk a little more about our bad date situations in our Patreon podcast, which we'll record after this. But today we're going to be talking. Am I frozen again?
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay. But today, in this episode, as Daniel has already introduced, we're going to be discussing all kinds of things regarding gender and sexuality and masculinity and femininity, I guess, and all kinds of shit. Now, Daniel, I have not prepared once again.
Oh, God.
I do have one thing I would like to discuss.
Yeah.
Like in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what your thoughts are.
This is the thing too. So I haven't done a ton of, like, I've done a little bit of reading and stuff, but I haven't 100% like planned just like ideas, but I have ideas I want to talk about. So I think maybe, do you want to go first and then we'll...
Oh God, we're going to dive right in. Okay. So my topic is very controversial.
Okay.
So I just want to know, and by the way, guys, this is just us, talking about our opinions based on our limited knowledge. So don't think that we're trying to tell you exactly how to feel or anything like that when we talk about any of this topic, because we're just curious. But basically, I think when we were young, when you and I were a bit younger, maybe when we were teenagers, the kind of controversial topic was like gay marriage or, homosexuality, that kind of stuff. But now I think we've come to the point where, it's kind of, especially here in Canada, a lot of it's very much more accepted than it was when we were younger. But now the kind of controversial topic is like transgender folk. Okay. So people that have transitioned into a different, into the other gender or whatever. But the very controversial topic at the moment is transgender sports. So I don't know if you've like heard about all this controversy, but it's like basically the controversy is transgender women. Transgender women. So people that have transitioned from male to female and are now living as females. Those women are now competing in female sports. And because biologically, they were born as men and maybe they lived, a lot of their lives as male. They have biological advantages over the female. So they're dominating a lot of female sports. And so that's like the kind of controversial topic because on one hand, so I want to hear your opinion on this, but on one hand, I'll lay out the kind of arguments. So the transgender folks are saying, we are women, like even though we weren't born as, we weren't given like the body parts, but we are technically women and we shouldn't be excluded from sports. Sports is a big part of culture and society. And they're saying that if we're excluded from sports, then we're still feeling excluded from the rest of society and all that stuff. On the other hand, there's a reason why men and women's sports are separated because there are definitely biological differences between 100%. Men and women. And especially when it comes to sports, unfortunately, women tend to have, it's a different sport. Like it's definitely a different sport for women and for men. So, so those are the two arguments. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it is a really interesting one. And I think like, you bring up a good point where you have to look at it like biologically, I think personally, because if you look at other species of animals, not just humans, but quite often there are biological differences between men and women, right? So you look at most like primates or, other mammals, and quite often the man will be, have more muscle mass, be able to do certain things that maybe the females they can do them, but maybe not to the same level or ability, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think so. On one hand, I'm like, I think it might be giving certain, like if for example, trans women were to compete in like the Olympics or something, that might be like a kind of an unfair advantage because they, do have a lot of components or physique of a man, although they're taking hormones and doing whatever else. On the flip side, I guess, given the amount of hormones and everything else that they're going to be taking as a trans woman, would that impact their performance? So in a sense
I'll tell you a little bit about that part. So the hormone part. So again, I haven't done enough research on this, but based on what I've read, in certain parts of the world, I can't remember, maybe like in the UK or something, I can't remember. Like honestly, in certain countries, there are certain rules as to like, you have to be on like hormone therapy for like a year or something like that. And it does change things a bit. I think it definitely does, change, the performance a little bit. But in certain parts, I think in the US or something, there aren't really regulations at this point about like how long you have to be on hormone therapy and all of these things. So we've seen like the video I seen was like a news story about two kids in high school that were female, and then they transitioned in high school. And almost as soon as they transitioned, they started competing in the track team, the female track team. And of course, now they're winning scholarships and doing all kinds of stuff. And I think that's the part where I feel like there needs to be some level of regulation because I don't know, like you can't just have someone literally just saying, oh, I'm going to transition and start hormone therapy. And then immediately they can go and compete in women's sports. Like we have to, it's a tough situation. I understand that. That's the difficult part.
It is tough because if you think about it, like look at me and you, for example, right? So let's say you were a competitive weightlifter or something. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. Can you imagine you and I competing? Continue. Sorry.
But imagine I'm like, okay, you know what? Actually, I'm going to transition and do the hormone therapy, whatever else, but start competing against you right away. I mean, there's no like, yes, we're the same age, we're the same, in some aspects, but it's like, how is that fair? I think
it's not fair. That's the thing.
Exactly. I think with regards to this, I think also my personal opinion is I think maybe there needs to be, because we're saying, you use that example of the high school kids on the track team that were able to get these scholarships and really, beat a lot of the females that were on the track team. But I think in general, there needs to be some kind of testing or like some scientific experiment or whatever to see if, someone that has been on hormone therapy for, let's say, a year or two, do they have an unfair advantage to other women competing? Based on,
I think that some of the argument is, okay, so one of the arguments from the transgender people they're saying, and I'm sure there are transgender people that still also think this is unfair too. But the people that are, fans of the idea of transgender women still competing within the women's sports, they're saying that there's never like a level playing field. So they're saying like it's always going to be unfair no matter what. So even if you are women and within women's sports, people are going to have certain physical advantages over others. And like that is true. I do agree with that part.
Yeah.
But I do think that when it comes to, it's like the same, like, of course it's never a level playing field, of course.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that are just too much of an advantage. Like, I don't know. It's hard.
It's a tough one. And I think my own personal, like how I feel about this is I feel that if it can be proven in some way that, okay, I understand what you mean about like certain, there is always going to be some kind of advantages, right?
Yeah.
But if they can say that, or if they can like prove that without bias, that there's not a completely unfair, like a hugely unfair advantage for someone that's trans to compete with other females or, whatever, then I would say definitely they should be competing. But if it is the fact that by being trans, by being trans and by like having a lot of those physiques that are still, inherently you're biologically a male, but you're transitioning into a female.
Yeah.
If that gives you such an unfair advantage, then I don't think that you should be allowed to compete necessarily.
Yeah.
So I think if it can be proven that there's not a hugely unfair advantage, then I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's just, I think that it's almost, I think obviously it depends on the person and like how, I think it also depends on like how soon you started transitioning. So if you were like a teenager or like before puberty, which I mean, that's already a different topic on its own, because I think that's, I don't know if how many teenagers should be trans. I don't know. Anyway, basically what I'm saying is, if you transition, at an earlier age, then you would be less likely to have like, the male physique features.
Yeah.
So like, even it's not just about hormones too, right? It's also about just like your bone structure and height and just the development and just everything that has to do with like men or women. And like I guess the interesting part is, people that talk about this issue, like for example, transgender people say that like so they differentiate between sex and gender, right? So people are saying sex is like your, I don't know, body parts and like the biology. And then gender is like how you feel, I guess. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another topic of discussion. But but then if sex is your biology and you were born as, a man biologically, isn't sports also biology? To some degree, right? Like sports isn't about, like it's basically simply based on biology. That's why we've separated male sports and female sports, because biologically, biological males have a biological advantage over biological females.
Yeah.
We're going to get in trouble for talking about this, by the way.
Do you think so? I think that
people get very sensitive about this topic, and I think we're being fair.
Yeah, no, and this is the thing. As I think, again, like I said before, I think my argument or how I feel personally about it is, I think if there isn't an unfair advantage to those people competing, to those individuals that are trans competing, then I think that they should be allowed to. However, on the flip side, if it can be proven that there is an unfair advantage, like we look at you and me, like I was saying before, if we were to compete against something, because I had just transitioned to a woman, obviously there's going to be certain things that, I might be able to, because I have, biological advantage against you, that it's not going to be a fair competition for you. So I think if that can be proven, then fine, they can compete. Like, I think it's fair, but I think if it can't be, I don't think that's fair then. That's like, I don't know. This is just my thoughts. And you're right. We might get some flack on it, but I think we're being pretty not unbiased, but I guess unbiased. We're just kind of being neutral and saying,
because I'm not in sports. Like, I don't, and obviously we're not against, any of this stuff. We're just kind of thinking like, what's fair for everyone? I mean, it's never going to be fair for everyone, but again, like,
exactly,
how unfair is it for, and like, it is also like an issue of like almost like an issue of women's rights, because, the reason why women's sports exist is to give women a chance to shine and, play sports and do all this kind of stuff. And for somebody that just started transitioning to a woman to go in and who lived their life as a man, let's say, for example, let's say somebody that's 20 years old lived their entire life as a man and then transition into a woman and then starts playing women's sports and starts basically taking away the shine from women. It's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was my topic that I wanted to talk about.
That's a tough one. I mean, that's really hard. I mean,
so maybe they should have like transgender sports. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe a separate category. I mean, and actually that wouldn't be that bad. You know what I mean? They've done that for other, other individuals and just like have kind of separate competing thing. And that way, again, it's fair for everyone at the level playing field.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think that people need to, some people find offense when we say this kind of stuff. And it's not that people are against transgender people. It's just that we have to think about the implications of, we live in a society, right? So we have to think about how it impacts other people too. So anyways, that was the topic of discussion.
Well, I mean, if we're going to roll with this, not roll with this, but one of the things that
are you going to transition into something else?
I am going to try.
Okay. Not like that.
I know. I've been seeing some interesting stuff on YouTube. Well, maybe it wasn't on YouTube, but I can't remember where I saw it, but basically about a lot of like young adults or teenagers that had decided to transition and then afterwards had regretted it. So I know that there were some people that had posted videos and been like, I transitioned, blah, 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 blah.
Into the other gender.
Exactly. And then actually have regretted it. So
right. I've heard about that too.
Yeah.
So continue. Sorry.
So I wonder, like, Because such a difficult topic. You know what I mean?
See,
and it's
this is where it's interesting.
Yeah. And I wonder.
Because, continue.
I wonder, like, when is a right age or a right time to know that you want to transition, or that you're, like you were saying before, born in a certain sex, but associate with a certain gender. Because like, I don't know about you, but like when I was going through my teens, especially as a gay man, it was very confusing time for me, like a lot of hormones were raging, and like, I didn't know if I liked men, if I liked women, if I, and I could see as a teenager during that confusing time that you might mix some of those feelings into thinking something else, potentially.
Right.
Into thinking, oh, actually, like as a gay man, maybe I would have thought back then, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to be a guy because I like guys. Like maybe I'm actually supposed to be, and mix up the two. Whereas, even though my gender is a man, but for whatever reason, when I'm younger, think that I should be a woman.
Right. Because
of my sexual preference.
Yeah. And that's, oh God, see, that's the thing. So I think that first of all, this is just my kind of thought. I think that, when you are a teenager and you're just confused, no matter what you are, whether or you're gay, straight, bi, like transgender, whatever you are, you're going to be very confused because
100%.
Nobody knows who they are when they are teenagers. We are like you said, our hormones are raging. We're living in this world where like we're trying to get fit in, but we're also trying to like find out who we are. So everyone is so confused. So I feel like transitioning at that time, like you have to be like 100% sure. I think there are certain people. I watched this one video of this girl that transitioned into a girl, and when she was like very young, but she said like from the very beginning, I was like 100% certain that I was a female. So until you are unless you're at that level of 100% certainty, I feel like it's probably not a good idea. If you're unsure, you're just kind of trying to figure it out. But I think now there's so much confusion because now it's almost, I don't want to say transgenderism like is glamorized, but there are, it's more accepted, and there's more people out there that are doing it. Like, there's, this kind of stuff is a lot more accepted, and people are talking about it more on social media. So I think that kids, are, exposed to this idea at a young age, and they think, oh, maybe that's what I am. They see like a transgender person on YouTube, and they're like, oh, maybe that's what I am.
Exactly. Well, and I think to your point, also a lot of the transgender women that we are seeing, and I'm not trying to like paint a certain brush or whatever else, but like a lot of the transgendered women that we're seeing, and men on YouTube or on social media, are gorgeous. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like these phenomenally gorgeous women and men where you're like, oh my God. So somebody that's a teenager that's maybe going through a lot of things, not feeling great about themselves, they might see these like super glamorous, like Gigi Gorgeous and Carmen Carrera and all these like phenomenally gorgeous trans women. And they're like, oh my God, I want to be like that. Just as young girls aspire to be certain models and stuff, right? Other kids that are confused might aspire to be these like absolutely stunning transgendered people. And again, get kind of mixed up with that kind of confusion,
Yeah. And like, that's tough because, and like they have said, cause like now that you bring up this topic, another very interesting thing is like nowadays, another controversy is people transitioning, like young kids. Like we're not even talking about like teenagers. We're talking about like children, prepubescent children. And some parents feel that it is okay to transition children. And I feel like that's where I'm like, okay, I'm pretty firm on like, no, I don't think that's okay. I feel like, again, this is a choice that you can make later on in life. And there are many people that have, and yes, I understand that like it can be difficult to go through that, but I think we need to create an environment where people that are confused, kids that are confused are still feeling okay, as in we need to create an environment where we're not bullying trans kids or bullying kids for being different rather than transitioning kids from when they were 5 years old, because that's where it's like, they don't know, you don't know who you are as a teenager. How do you think you're going to know who you are when you're 5 years old?
But I think I echo that as well, in a sense that like if we create an atmosphere in schools and in homes where actually it fosters an environment for a kid to find themselves and to feel okay and open and have these open discussions, maybe not transition right away, but have these open discussions with their peers without fear of like retribution or being attacked or bullied. also with their parents, with their teachers, they can actually start to form a more concrete feeling of who they are as themselves and actually think, is this the right thing for me? I've had these discussions with, people that are really important in my life, and this is something that I want to pursue. But you're right. When you're 5 or 6 years old, I just feel like, and I could be wrong here, but like, I just feel like you don't know, what you want to do. And you know what, maybe you are down the path of you're in the wrong, you feel like you're a different gender than what you were born into. So as a society, we need to foster an environment so that for the next 10, 15 years, while that kid is growing up, they can live as a certain sex and later on transition when they feel 100% of that's what they want to do.
Yeah. And like, okay, that leads me also to another point is what's very interesting is a lot of people say sex and gender are separate. So a lot of people say like men, male and female biology is sex, and then gender is like expression or whatever, like how you feel. Yeah. But I'm like, okay, so I feel like if you're born, how do I word this? So like, for example, if you're born as a man, and, your body is a man, but if you're allowed to be whatever, you can express yourself in whatever gender you feel.
Yeah.
The fact that you feel that you have to transition into a female, like physically, doesn't that say something about sex and gender being at least linked to some degree?
So like that's where, point.
Yes, because we talk because why do you need to transition then? So because like for example, I think we need to create a world where a man can act however way he wants, as feminine as he wants, as masculine as he wants, and same with a woman, without feeling like they absolutely have to be of the other. So that's the thing. That's another thing why I think a lot of kids. I think they say that a lot of kids that feel that they are transgender actually end up being like gay.
Yeah.
Like later on in life. And like that's what you said about, when you were a teenager, like you were confused. I'm sure maybe you didn't think you were transgender, but maybe you did. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
And like, yeah, a lot of kids, they get confused because they think, oh, do I have to be a woman to like men?
Yeah.
Or like, and so that's interesting because I feel like if we are going to go with this idea that sex and gender are completely separate things, then why do people, like, it shouldn't make sense that people feel the need to go through all kinds of like painful surgeries to physically make themselves the other
sex.
See now the other sex. Exactly. So we are like in some way it is linked. Like sex and gender are linked. 99% of the population identifies with the same sex and gender that they are, right?
Yeah. This is true.
So
that's a really interesting point because I never thought of it like that in a sense that, because there's a lot of, it's a really interesting time in society right now, I think.
Yes, with this very confusing.
It is confusing, but the whole idea, okay, sex, we're saying, okay, that's biological and gender is more a social construct, if you will, like masculinity and femininity. And you're right, like, okay, we're saying that if they are two distinctly separate things. So you can be a man and feel, you can have more effeminate qualities, but still be a man. It's not linked, but we're saying, well, then what is the need to necessarily transition?
Yes.
Again,
it's a tough one. Is it because socially you want to fit in? Or, but then that doesn't make sense either because socially transgender is not fitting in, right? Like that's also not, at least like, historically, like people didn't accept. So, but that's the thing that I feel like some people have. I think what's called body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Where have you heard of this? Like gender dysmorphia.
Gender dysmorphia. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I think those are people that like absolutely feel like they're literally in the wrong gender, like wrong body.
Wrong body. Yeah.
So like
they feel they're the wrong sex.
And like that's where I feel like 100% like transition, like absolutely. I mean, of course, anyone can transition, like do whatever you want. But I think some people that transition, maybe they don't have gender dysphoria and they just kind of are confused and they just transition. So yeah, it's interesting. And like they say that even in like the animal kingdom, for example, there are like certain gender traits, So I don't think it's completely socially constructed.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
I think it's a really tough one because like when you look at like gender, male versus female, what makes a man, what makes a woman? Again, this actually links in nicely to the whole thing about masculinity and femininity. And I think, again, I keep saying this, but we're in a really interesting time because we're talking about all of this stuff and a lot of things are shifting. So like certain ideas, because I think masculinity in itself is a construct as to what makes a man per se. There's certain aspects of it which I agree with you, which are biological traits. But then I do think there's some of it where we've kind of constructed this as society. Like, for example, like men like the color blue and women like the color pink.
That's 100%. Yeah, that's 100% socially constructed.
And it's quite interesting because this was another point that I wanted to talk about, kind of like moving away from the trans side of it and into more kind of like, masculinity in itself. It's quite interesting in a sense that like a lot of the whole model of what used to work when we were like our parents and grandparents were growing up was the man was like the breadwinner. He, went to work. The woman stayed at home, kept the house clean, looked after the kids. And the man didn't really have to do that much, per se. And now we're in an interesting time where
you mean like in the house?
Yeah, exactly. House-wise.
So his job was like going and working, right?
Exactly. And we're in a time period now where actually a lot of that's shifting, where actually it's kind of an equal power distribution, I guess, if you want to say it like that.
It's not really though, because not to be all like feminazi, okay? Yeah. But it's not actually equal because men now, both people are working usually. I mean, maybe not usually. I'm not sure about the statistics, but a lot of families have both men and women working,
joint
and
incomes,
they still say that women are doing the majority of the housework still. Yeah. So women are working and doing the houseworard most of the time.
But do you think that's like that is interesting? Do you think that's something like at least for our generation maybe that's changing because like I don't know like how it like. For example, if you moved in with your partner, you would expect them to do equal shares of housework, no?
I would probably expect it. I think that, again, maybe women as a whole, generally, again, speaking generally, feel more like, I don't know. I feel like boys are messy.
I mean, it depends though, because I've met some guys.
It depends.
I've met some really OCD guys that are like super like clean freaks.
Based on my experience, men are in most of the time in two categories. OCD AF, like they need to be so clean, like everything is like, there's not a speck of dirt in sight. And then the other hand, they're just messy. So it's one or the other.
I feel like I used to be.
You're kind of messy.
I was in the messy spectrum for a while, but as I've lived by myself and stuff, I feel like I'm more in the middle now. Like I'm still a hot mess, but like,
yeah, like you're okay. Yeah, you've
like
gotten a lot better.
Yeah,
I think it's because I kept lecturing you.
Well, it's because I lived. It's because I lived with you for so long, Rose. You beat it into me, the cleaning. So,
like I'm not even that clean. Okay, wait.
I think you're pretty clean.
I think I'm like just kind of average. Mm-hmm. I think like some females would think that I'm kind of messy and dirty, but
oh god damn, Rose. But yeah,
anyways. Wait. We like went off on a tangent. We went off on a tangent there.
Yeah.
So what were we
were talking
saying?
about like masculinity and the changing kind of like roles and what makes a man, and well, not what makes a man, but like the idea of how society's kind of changing that.
It's interesting. I do think that, you are right. Like maybe, in our generation, it'll be more equal to some degree. But I do think there are certain things though, where I do question, is this biology or is it evolution, right? So like evolution wise, men were like the hunters or whatever, and women are, because the thing is, just by our biology alone, the fact that women are the only ones that can carry children and be pregnant and have kids, that changes a lot of the dynamic, because when a woman is pregnant, she can't, she's not going to go out and like, bang a bunch of dudes. She's going to stay home and like care for this child that she's pregnant for. Whereas like a man, he can do whatever. Like he wants to spread the seed or whatever he wants to do.
Oh God, spreading the seed. God damn, bro.
And so, oh God, like what was my point? So what I'm saying is like, just by biology alone, there are certain differences. Women want, they're more, maybe they're more nurturing, in a sense. Again, generally, not all women. And they want to take care of their kid or whatever. Whereas like a man needs to go out, like for example, when his woman is pregnant, he needs to go out and like, I don't know, get food or fucking do all that shit. So they feel the need to provide. So maybe that is partially at least partially, it is definitely biological, some of it.
Yeah.
Or
some parts
evolution.
Of it,
Yes.
Yeah. Evolutionary or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. I just think, I don't know how I want to say it, but I do think like the roles are shifting, and I think in not roles shifting necessarily, but I think, guys are getting more like masculinity. The idea of masculinity is changing a little bit. And I think because before it was like, you're supposed to be this like macho man and stuff. But I think more and more guys starting to, obviously like not like hugely, but I think a lot of them are starting to be more open about, starting to talk about their feelings and, feeling okay with the fact that maybe their woman, the whoever they're with is, making equal income or more income than them, or, you know what I mean? Or, I don't know. I just think that there's some shift going on.
But what about, there's definitely a shift. Like, don't get me wrong, like 100%, like even if you compare it to like 50 years ago, to now, even just I think it's our attitudes that are changing a little bit about, what a man's supposed to do versus a woman, but it's still kind of there. And for like, I do also want to transition into what, cause you mentioned like, oh, like now it's okay for men to be not as like, masculine in the traditional definition. But then let's talk about attraction then. So, because we always talk about this, because you like, I think it's interesting because I'm a straight woman and you're a gay man.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're both attracted to a masculine man. So let's talk about that. So like why? So for example, I don't like, and I'm speaking for me, I don't like, I don't find it attractive when a man is, acting feminine.
Yeah, when he has feminine qualities or, like feminine.
So then can we say that, I don't know, how do you feel about that?
Well, I know the thing is I get frustrated with myself about this whole topic, like on a personal level, because first of all, on a side note, in the gay community, the whole idea of masculine and feminine, it's actually like a really like, not toxic, that's the wrong word, but there's a lot of like, and I buy into this whole stereotype as well because I really like masculine guys, but it's really, really bad because like on dating apps and things like that, like, in the gay community, it's really toxic in a sense that, they'll say really, really racist and nasty things on these dating apps where it's like no femmes, no, only masculine guys, no Asians, no blacks, no whatever.
Oh, and my God.
It's pretty bad. Like, and it's kind of like, well, I know everyone has their own preferences and stuff, but you can kind of keep some of that shit to yourself. And, if it's Tinder or something like this, you can just swipe to the people that you are attracted to without having to be, have that in your profile. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing that really frustrates me is I'm like you as well, in a sense that like, I really like, again, masculine guys, like guys that, are your typical kind of like guys. Yeah. And I kind of wish I could break from that because I know that there's a lot of guys I've met in my life or potential new people that might be a bit more on the feminine side that I want to try to give them a chance. But like, I don't know why to have this thing where I like,
maybe they might have an Igor voice. Is it Igor?
Oh God, what's happened here?
Oh my God, what happened? Did you hear what I said?
No, I didn't hear what you said. What did you say?
I said maybe they'll have an Igor voice. Is it Igor? Is that the name of the bird?
Yeah, it's like Iago. I think it's Iago.
Iago.
Oh, God damn.
See, that's the thing. So there are certain... Okay, that's what's interesting. This is what's interesting because... if we're just speaking only of evolution and biology...
Yeah.
Women are attracted to men are attracted to women, technically. Yeah. But then we have, gay people that are also attracted to men. And then gay women that are attracted to women. Yeah. So it's like, it's so confusing. That's why it's so
really
confusing.
It is so confusing. And like, just speaking again from like the gay perspective, it does get even more, not even more confusing, but it's like, because obviously within
100% more confusing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why are you attracted to... Because the thing is, it kind of makes sense that if you're gay, you would be attracted to a man that is manly because you're not attracted to women, right? So like, if you're not attracted to women, then you would be more likely to be attracted to a manly man.
But then to add more confusion to the fire is that there's also like within the gay community, there's like really, really effeminate gay guys and some really masculine gay guys like the really effeminate gay guys. Or
oh God, it's so interesting.
It adds like so many different things. Like I'm not even going to get into like some of the intricacies of the gay dating world. That's another whole different ballgame.
To be fair, attraction is very strange, and I don't think there's like an answer. It's just kind of random sometimes. Yeah. Some people like really weird shit. And so speaking of shit, some people like, shitting.
Literal. Oh God. Okay, that's next level. But some people.
Seriously though, I watched this like I think it was like a YouTube video or like a documentary about this Japanese porn star man, and he was like, this is like, I don't know, this guy has like fucked. He's probably like holds some kind of world record for like how many people he's fucked. Anyways,
oh my God,
he was like talking about like his fetish, how he has like a fetish for like shit.
Oh my God. I mean, to each their own, I guess. To each their own. Like I'm never going to be on that level, but.
This is when I realized, wow, like, humanity just, there's just so many different kinds of people in this world.
There is. There's such a variety. And that's why, like, another thing that I used to like back in the day, because obviously like we're also on our own personal journeys and learning about sexuality and, all of this stuff, which I personally find like super fascinating. When I first came out, I remember like, when I first came out, there was like a big thing about bisexuality. Like I remember that was like the thing when I was like 18, 19.
Oh, okay.
And
is that when you came out, when you were 18?
Yeah, I was 18. And
oh, wow.
I know, it's crazy.
That's like, this is like a whole different episode too. I feel like you should do a dedicated episode to the coming out situation. But anyway,
I will.
Continue.
I'll go there, definitely. We should write that down actually. Well, I don't have a...
Okay, I'll write it down. down.
Oh yeah, where was I going with this? So I used to think in my own kind of like naive state when I first came out, I was like, oh, it's binary. You either like one or the other. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like, you're either straight and you like girls, or you're gay and you like guys, or you're a lesbian and you like girls. That was it. This whole idea of bisexuality, I always thought to myself, I was like, oh, it's just like somebody that's transitioning into liking the other person and they're trying to make it easier.
Right.
But then actually, like, as I got older and learned more about this stuff and met a bunch of people that were legitimately bisexual, it like opened up so many like windows and eyes and whatever I want to say, like however I want to say it. But that it is a big thing. And there are people out there that legitimately like both sexes. And then the interesting thing that I found is, and I could be, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, because this is something I found really fascinating about bisexuality.
Ooh.
And I could get some flack for this, but I think in today's society still, it is a bit easier to be a bisexual woman than a bisexual man. And
absolutely.
Yeah. One of the interesting things I did, like I honestly, I find this stuff so fascinating. So I think I told you this before, but I was on this like retreat with some people from work, and I like to play like not devil's advocate, but I was just asking a bunch of the girls in the group. I was just like, hey, just out of curiosity, like random question. I'm not going to judge anyone or anything, but I want your feedback. So if you met your partner and you really like this guy, right? He's super nice and you have a lot in common.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. Yeah, continue.
Sex is incredible. He's super into you. You're super into him. And then you guys happen to later on, a few months later, get in the topic of past relationships. And he was like, oh, my last partner was Dave or something, How would you feel? Yeah. And all of the women in the room were like, I would be disgusted by it. I wouldn't.
They say disgusted?
Not all of them. There was a few that were like a little bit like on the fence, but majority, actually pretty much all of them were like, it would bother me, right? Turn that to the guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you found out that your girlfriend had a previous significant relationship with a woman, not just like a one-off make out at the bar, but like a significant relationship with a woman, would that bother you? And almost all of them were like, not really, because she's with me now. Like that was, whatever.
So, yeah.
But it's interesting because...
It's interesting, but it's not shocking for some I can see why.
Why?
I mean, not that I can see why. I can't see why, but it's not shocking to me because I think I said the same thing to you, Daniel. Like, I don't know why it is. I think it's, again, this might be socially constructed. I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay. But like, I think that even from before, like even being a gay woman at, maybe 10 years ago was more accepted almost than being a gay man. I think being a gay man, even today, is seen as a lot more like...
dirty or something.
Yeah, like it's not seen the same way as lesbians.
Yeah.
Like lesbians are almost like, how do you say, they're fetishized. They're, like they're seen as like...
Guys fantasize about that.
Yes, men fantasize about, lesbians, whereas like it's not really the same the other way around. And maybe that's what it is partially. It's just like it's not as like seen as like a sexy thing for like two guys. I mean, maybe obviously within the gay community it is, but like outside of the gay community, it's not. For some reason, there's a huge taboo with it. So like even if a guy wants to explore, you know, because of course there are bisexual men, but it's definitely like, I feel like it's almost trendy for a woman to be bisexual. It's almost trendy for 100%. A woman to like explore her sexuality. But for a man, that's not. Like, you better be full on sure you're bisexual. Otherwise, like you're not going to be, you're probably not going to be experimenting.
Exactly, and this is where I think we've gotten to a good place, or we're getting into a better place in society. But I still think we have a long way to go, in a sense that I think it would be really, really fantastic if everyone just, like, in an ideal world where, you know, if you were bisexual or whatever, even if you weren't sure if you were bisexual, but like let's say a guy went to a bar and like ended up hooking up with one of his guy friend mates, wasn't bisexual, wasn't gay, but just tried it once just to be like whatever. You know what I mean? There wouldn't be that stigma attached to it, you know? Like, it's more like, this happened. But it's just like, I don't
know if I could get past it.
Really?
I'm just being honest. I don't know.
It's
like,
a tough, but again, it's a tough thing. Like, and for me, I feel like
here's the thing. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, for me, maybe I'm a bit more open-minded to it, because as a gay man, a lot of other gay men that I might be my potential partners might have had previous relationships with women.
100%.
You know what I mean?
I think for you, it's very different. Yeah. I think it's like, you almost have to accept that maybe a lot of them have had past relationships with women, just because, you know, I guess the expectation is that you're straight. So like that's kind of the baseline of how you start. And then that's why gay people have to come out, because the baseline of how like you're expected to be is straight. But obviously there's a lot of gay people. But like, I don't know what it is. Again, is this biology or is this socially constructed? Like, am I socially constructed to think that I shouldn't be attracted to a man that has been with another man? Or is it just biologically, I just find that I don't know.
I think I honestly, like, and this might be me just being biased, because like I'm very like this. I find it interesting, but I think it is a social construct, because biologically, if you're with a man and he's like, you know, pleasing you as a lover and everything else, and all those other traits are there,
pleasing you as a lover,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does it really matter if he had a previous relationship with a man? Why does it matter?
I think if I were actually in that situation, though, I think, like, for example, if I didn't know, if I was like, let's say I started dating somebody and I didn't know anything, and it was amazing, we had great chemistry and everything was perfect, and then he told me later on, I would not be like, I think I would definitely, like, you know, be shocked. Yeah. But I also don't think I would just dismiss it and be like, okay, well then fuck this relationship. Like, I definitely wouldn't do that. So I think that it's from coming from a place of like, if I don't know this person and I'm just meeting them, and then they told me that they've been with men before, then I think at that moment, because I already don't know this person, my attraction to that person would be lowered, and I don't know why. Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing to talk about. Like, it is. Why
it's
is
very
that?
Interesting.
So
it's something that we do need to think about as women, because I think that there is, we have developed, how do I say, a lot more in terms of like women's rights and, you know, women being able to do things, but also we need to think about, you know, what are we doing in terms of for the men? Like, I think a lot of men are going through things that, you know, maybe we don't discuss enough. Like, for example, this idea of male sexuality, I feel like is kind of, there's still a long way to go.
Yeah. It's still kind of a bit taboo, and it's a bit kind of, you know, guys do feel a bit more shame like if I was a straight 100%. or kind of curious guy, I would feel shame if I hooked up with a guy, because then I'd be like, oh, girls are not going to want to date me because they're going to find out and feel uncomfortable with the fact that I slept with a guy. So it makes so it's harder for them. So I don't know. It's just, again, it's just like a weird, not weird, but it's just, why is that? You know, it's like,
and even on social media, I see so many girls, like every girl out there is bisexual. Like, I see so many girls on social media, like they're all bisexual. I swear to God, it's like 50% bisexual. Yeah. And then what about the men? Like,
well, this is the thing. It's like, there's that, I haven't actually read it. I really want to read this. Like, there's this guy called, I'm going to say this wrong. It's like Kinsey or something like this. And he had like this scale that he like developed where it's like, it's called the Kinsey scale from like 1 to 6, where it was like everyone in society exists on this scale. And one was like completely heterosexual. So like you're not even remotely attracted to same sex or anything like that.
Okay.
And then on the number 6, you're completely homosexual, where you completely 100% are into the same gender. But there's a lot of people that were in the middle. So it was like, there would be people that were maybe like a 2. I'm going to say these wrong because I haven't actually read the thing, but like, let's say someone was more closer to the middle, but not quite bisexual. It might be someone that's straight, has straight relationships, but can like appreciate a good looking, or, maybe even have a slight fantasy, but not even go there because it's not, fully.
Yeah.
Right up to the middle, where there's like you said, there's a lot of women that are expressing their bisexuality now, but what about all the guys? Like, what about all the other guys? And I think there's that fear to do that because of the kind of repercussions is if they want to date women later, or, they meet a great girl, they're scared to tell her,
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. But, maybe it's shifting. I don't know. Yeah. In the younger, who knows? Like maybe the teenagers now think very differently than our generation.
I do think.
What do you think?
I do think the younger. The thing is, I feel like I'm a little bit out of touch with the younger community because like I don't really have. Me too.
I realize I'm so old.
We're old now, okay? Like
yeah, like I don't know what teenagers think. Sometimes they talk and I don't understand what they're saying. Yeah. We're one of those people now. We're one of the old people now.
Oh God, but I do think like I think maybe I could be wrong, but I think teenagers are becoming a bit more open-minded with this stuff, like more kind of like fluid and like I don't know. I could
Gender
be wrong.
Fluid or sexuality fluid. I don't know. I mean, you're probably right. I do think that. I don't know. I find this whole topic so fascinating because I just don't know. Like, is it my own cultural bias that, a man should never have been with a woman if I'm going to be with them? Like,
yeah.
Fuck. Well, it's kind of like, like me liking tall guys, right?
Yeah.
like he better be 6 foot. I'm just kidding.
He has to be a certain, but this is a weird thing too. Again, coming back to like even just our own attraction. We were talking about this before. We like masculine guys, both of us. We like guys. I also like guys that are tall, certain characteristics. And it's like, again, why is that? Like, why are we attracted to that specific thing? Is that again a social construct, or is that partly some from our like biology?
I think a lot of it's biology. I'm not sure about me not being attracted to like a guy that's been with a guy. I think that you're right. It might be more socially constructed.
Yeah.
Because like we're kind of designed to be like kind of disgusted by like men being with another man or whatever, like not disgusted, but like at least when we were young, especially, I think now again, it's much more normalized. But when we were young, like a man acting like, for example, a man acting like a woman was seen as a lot more like, ew, like, why is he doing that? I think than like a woman acting a little bit more masculine, like being a tomboy, for example, was a lot more socially accepted for a girl. But a guy acting like a girl automatically, oh, he's gay. Like, oh, he's like, so like I think a lot of that is maybe socially constructed. Maybe there's a biological reason why we might think that way in the beginning, but a lot of it is, I think, socially constructed. But when it comes to things like physical attraction.
Oh, God damn. I don't know. Maybe we should leave that. We might have to leave that one for another podcast episode.
Like, how long have we been talking?
A long time. I was going to say it's almost time for a vegan nugget,
Oh, goddamn. But there's so much to discuss.
I know there's literally.
Anyways, basically, the moral of the story is I like tall men and I don't know what to do about it.
Oh, God. And I also like masculine men and don't know what to do about it, seriously.
God.
Because a part of me, like, and I've said this before, a part of me wants to like broaden my horizons and like other people that aren't, like more in the kind of effeminate space, but I just can't, and I wish I could.
Maybe it's the yin and the yang. You need the opposite, not the opposite, but you need something different from yourself.
Yeah, that could be.
Because as much as you're such a masculine man,
I'm not really. Let's be real here, okay?
Yeah, so I feel like because, like you said, some people in the gay community are, that are attracted to the femme gays. Some of them are like really masculine, right?
True.
So usually, not always, again, there are exceptions to every rule, but usually there's there's something to say, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're straight or gay, there's something to say about kind of liking someone of the different energy to you, like a feminine or a masculine energy to you. So I think maybe that's what it is.
That could be it, potentially.
Yeah. I don't know.
Interesting.
So for example, there's like a dominant and like a more passive person.
That's
so like
true. like a top or a bottom. Just kidding.
Oh, God damn, Daniel. Do you receive or give the presents?
Oh, God. What do you like to have at Christmas? Do you like to give the presents or you like to receive them? God damn. We'll leave that for another episode, Rose. I will not divulge.
God damn. Okay.
Oh, God damn. This is getting juicy
God,
as
we're
hell.
we're getting this is only for adults. Please.
Yeah, this podcast is getting, we're going to get an X rating.
God. Okay. So I guess, is that all we want to discuss? I think we need to, how do we sum up this fucking giant discussion?
So, I mean, oh my God, we talked about so much stuff. I mean, I don't know, I guess it'd be interesting to get other people's thoughts on this as well. So I would actually appreciate some comments in the, comment section, because this will be posted on YouTube eventually. And what are your guys' thoughts on this? I mean, again, take everything that me and Rose are saying right now with a pinch of salt. These are just our opinions and kind of thoughts and ideas, but we're very, very open-minded, and we find this stuff fascinating and interesting. So would be really actually useful and helpful to get your guys' thoughts, opinions, ideas. Maybe you agree with what we're saying, maybe you disagree, but either way, we want to hear it because we're really open to that kind of feedback. And we both find this topic so fascinating,
so interesting.
We're definitely gonna have another podcast on this for sure.
If I had no desire to, get a job, I probably would have studied gender studies. Oh, I shouldn't say this.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
If I didn't care about what job I was going to get, career wise, and if I was only to choose what I was fascinated by and what I was interested in, I would either study philosophy or gender studies or something along those lines. Yeah.
I found,
because it's so interesting.
Sociology. Oh, sorry. So interesting. I did a sociology. It was social deviance, which was all around this kind of gender and all this stuff. And it's so interesting. So yeah. So I think anyways, we can just leave it
at that.
Yeah. Pretty much.
All right. So vegan nugget time. I don't even remember what other vegan nuggets I gave before, but what's your vegan nugget?
I don't actually have one for today. I was hoping you would.
I did. I'm sure I'll be able to. Oh, let's do a little one for the Christmas time. So a little vegan tip if you are maybe interested in plant-based lifestyle, or maybe you're new vegan and you're trying to navigate through the Christmas holidays. Let me think of a tip.
Well, what about
I don't know if I said this last time, but I think what I said what I would say, the most important thing is that you need to be confident with your reasoning. Yeah. So you don't have to be preachy. You don't even have to talk about it. But if you're confident with yourself, then people are not going to, they're less likely to be questioning your, what you're doing. So
exactly.
Yeah, if you know for a fact that you're vegan and this is just how it is, and you're not wishy-washy about it, then people they're not going to bug you as much.
Exactly. That's a very good tip. I like that.
What's your tip for the holidays, for being vegan in the holidays?
It's kind of similar to what I said in the last episode, but again, I think it's good being confident with your reasoning. And then also, if you're going to a family gathering or get together, again, this goes back to what I said before, but be prepared. So obviously there's going to be probably a turkey and other stuff. So maybe try to either, pick up a nut loaf if you can get one at a grocery store, or some kind of alternative. So you have something that you can, or make one. Exactly. Or if, there's a really good, do you have one on your channel, how to make a nut loaf?
Yes, I have one on my blog. I think I'm doing a Christmas holidays blog post soon. Yeah. So check it out on thecheaplazyvegan.com. But I also have holiday recipes on my YouTube channel as well. Yeah. So there's so many different ways of making a lentil or nut roast, a bean roast, and they're really yummy.
They're so good. Honestly, they are a lot of work, but they're so good.
They're so good. Yeah. So highly recommend making some kind of delicious nut roast or a lentil roast.
Because then you can just participate in the feast just like everyone else. Oh, and also be mindful that typically gravy and stuff is going to be made with animal products. So just have an alternative gravy to use on the veggies and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Good tips.
Yeah. But yeah, so thanks so much for listening. If you aren't already, please follow us on YouTube at The SaVeg Podcast. Also check us out on Instagram, The SaVeg Podcast again. And if you guys want more of me and Rose and exclusive content and getting the episodes a week early, go over to patreon.com/The SaVeg Podcast.
And also get the bonus episodes each month. We're planning on doing one bonus episode on Patreon each month. And maybe even an extra bonus audio only episode.
Yes.
So potentially 2 bonus episodes a month because obviously we have so much to say.
We do.
So this is like not enough time for all this content I want to make. Yeah. Anyways, we are about to, in a few hours, we're also going to be recording the Patreon only episode, which will be discussing our dating stories.
Oh, God
Our
damn.
worst date stories.
So many.
So that's going to be a fun one. So if you guys want to listen to that, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/The SaVeg Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening once again. Yeah. And any final words, Daniel?
Have a great week, everyone.
Yeah, have a great week. Thank you so much. Okay, bye.
Bye.